Visible to you?
Yes,
Hello.
Bravishma.
Okay. So, law and morality. Before going to the topic law and morality, we need to know what is a society. So, as Sir said in our last class, that society is an harmonious web of relationships where all the individuals can coexist. See, in a society, we could see a different relationships. Like it can be a with an individual with an another individual, or an individual with an another community, or a group with an another community. So there may be a chances of conflict between their interests, right? So, for example, if I want to buy a property of particular land, and even the another person from our group is also wishes to buy same property there, so there will be an conflict of interest between with both, right? So likewise, in a society, if we have this type of relationship exists, there may be chances of conflicting of their interest. So in order to have a or in order to cope up with these situations, we need an ideal society. For an ideal society, we need a peaceful, orderly, and just society. In order to achieve this orderly society, we need to have some social controls. Such two types of social controls are we have law and that morality. So what are these two types of social control? The first one is morality. As we all know, morality is dealing with some set of right of conduct or some set of standards of conduct, right? So we all know certain values have, we all have certain values and we need to follow. Whereas like in law, when we are considering the law, there are set of rules and principles and which is based on some human actions. But whereas in morality, it sets certain values which how or rather otherwise we can say that what are the standards of conduct which persons have to follow in order to live in a society. So we can say that the morality means in order to attain a morality or morality means of social control, we can say that how we can how the morality becomes a means of social control, or how can we say that it's a morality or a law is a means to control society, right? So how we can, how this morality becomes a means to social control is that by imposing some moral duties, that is what all the things which we need to do or we should not do. On the basis of that, we can say that we can control the social society. On the basis of this morality, we can control society. So we are saying that we are relying upon certain rules, and already we have discussed about the different schools and there, and we already studied certain theories. As we all know, the theory is the one which explains or one which justifies certain phenomena, right? So on the basis of that, we need to consider certain theories and what all the functions of that morality principles, or how we can say that this morality will act as a social control or an instrument of social control. The first one, first of the theory is saying that this theory is actually, this concept is actually is to explain the origin of some moral duties. So we can say that some of the theories are explaining that morality is actually depends upon where this morality's duties is explains, or where is it that origin is left upon. And next one is we need to know about the what all the contents in that, what are the contents in that morality, we need to check into that. And next one is the how we can implement this. So for example, if there is any purely or if we want some peaceful society, we need everyone to be live together, like, so that we need everyone should be love each other, we need to adjust everyone, or we need to respect some others interest, or we need to adjust to their others interest also. So for that we need proper implications and all. And likewise, these are the functions these are the functions which we need to follow in order to have a proper orderly society. That is we need to first of all look into the origin of moral duties, what all the duties one is having, and the second one, what all the contents of that moral principles within that we need to rely upon, and how we can implicate. For that for having a peaceful, orderly society, we will look into the other situations also. We need to love each other, and this what explains in the functions of our morality concept. And on the basis of this, we have two kinds of moral theories. The first one is religious theory, and the second one is secular theory. This religious theory is completely based upon the idea of God. So we all know that in earlier concept, we are actually relying upon the gods, right? They have some representatives or like priest and all. What all things they are saying, we are completely relying upon and we are acting upon it, right? So this is what actually saying about the religious theory, and which is usually seen in the herbious society. This religious theory was seen in the herbious society, and whereas in the secular moral theories, we can see that it is not just like an one which is completely, or one which is saying directly from the god, or some representatives or gods are saying that we need to follow like that, or these are the sins which we are to follow for such an offense or like that. So there is no such things in here in secular. It is actually completely relying upon the customary practices and all. So this is actually explains in the secular theory, and it is completely based on the distinctive and different concepts. And we could see this religious, or sorry, this secular theory in the Greek society. And moving on to the concept of law, as I have already mentioned, law is a set of rules or the principles or institutions to regulate the human behavior. So we need to make set of rules so that we can regulate the human behavior, and which can be accomplished only through some human sanctions. So when we consider the definition of both morality, where we are considering morality, where they are saying that it's a standard, right? What are the principles of good or bad conduct, like that the morality are saying. But whereas in the uh, law, we are saying that there is some human sanction at all. So when we compare these work concepts, the law and morality, we can say that the function and the purpose of both law and morality is almost same. They are actually trying to regulate the human conduct. So when we consider the morality concepts, we are saying that it is about the, or they are setting up of the standards of conduct, how a person to be behaved to someone, like that. Here also in law, they are making, or they are trying to control, they are making these rules or principles in order to control the human behavior, or in order to regulate the human behavior. So we can say that in both law and morality, we can see the similar concepts or similar functions or similar purpose. The ultimate purpose or the function of law or morality is to regulate the human behavior. But whereas we can see some differences between these two concepts. The differences are, the first one in morality, we can say that completely the morality concepts is based on some new supernatural powers, some customary practices, or they completely believes in some religious aspects. Whereas in when we consider the law, we could see that it completely rely upon some human sanctions. Through human sanctions only we can enforce these rules and principles. But when we consider the morality principles, or when we look into the morality concept, we can say that they completely relying upon some religious or customary practices, where we couldn't see some human sanctions, or like what all their goals are saying, or what all their customary practices are saying, they completely stick on it and they follow such things. But whereas in law, we completely rely upon, or we are setting up certain rules and regulations, or certain principles are setting, and in order to conduct, or in order to control the human behavior, we also set some human sanctions are also there. So we can say that law uses human sanctions for enforcing the rules and principles, but whereas the morality completely rely upon the customary practices. If their customary practices are saying that some acts are such that it will be sin for your future life, or it will be a sin for you, then they will completely follow. They couldn't move into, or they couldn't look into such facts that is it a wrong thing, or whether we need to follow such things, or the logic they will not go for the logic behind such things. But whereas in the law, we will consider all that matters, whether we need to follow such things or not. And it's completely rely upon certain principles, and it is they actually check over that, and they have certain procedures and all. For after considering certain procedures, and after considering some other person's opinion and all, we are looking into and such concept, and we are implementing such laws. So morality is actually says about certain moral values which we need to follow in a society, whereas law is the one which sets the human's behavior, or how a human should act, and it have some sanctions for that. If someone do some wrong, we will definitely punish them, so there will be a punishment. And it is completely connected, or completely look into the logical aspects also, not completely or completely we are relying upon certain religious aspects, or what else should say, or customary practices, or which we are following from the time immemorial, like that. So as we all know, the law is the one which change according to the changing society, right? So we can say that humans actions is proper for compared to the morality concept. And there also we need to check into the what this morality or law and morality concepts in jurisprudence sayings. Before going to that, we need to check into the two questions: what is the legitimacy of law, and what is the basis of authority of law? So in order to answer these questions, we need to see the fundamental problems in this concept. That is, the fundamental problem or the perennial problem in this concept is that with the relationship between this positive law and the value system that provide a meaning and purpose to actually an human life. So we can say that for considering our preamble itself, in the preamble we can say that there we get a set of rules or values are there. What all the things as an individual or being a human being in a society, what all things we have, or what all the things which we need to follow for that living in an orderly or a peaceful society, like that. In order to live in a society, there must be a proper relationship between the positive law and the value system. We cannot completely rely upon a law or completely rely upon our moral values, but there must be a correlation, or there must be a relationship, or we need to maintain a balance between this morals and society. Then only we can move on to the, or then only we can have an orderly society. But when we consider into different theories, some of the theories are saying that law and moralities are correlated, or they are closely related to or they are having a relationship between them. But some of the theories, some of the exponents are saying that there is no relationship between the law and morality. These two concepts are two different sets, or these two are in situated in two circles, or two concepts are there. So in order to look into these concepts, we have three theories. So three theories. The first theory is relation of identity. Here what is saying that what all things, or what is moral is what is law. That is, that actually tries to convey us that what all things are saying in the moral will always be said in the law concept. That is, they two are two identical, and there is no some other differences between these two. They are so similar in nature. This is said in the relation of identity. So what is moral is what is law. So what all things are saying in the moral value, so moral side will be ultimately, or they are completely following the same things in the law. So whenever we are proposing some moral values, and we are completely rely upon that, and we are completely rely upon that particular matter, and we are just making such law. So that's what saying, there is no difference between this law and morality. They are completely similar in nature. And another theory is saying that it is mutual exclusivity. That says that these two, morality and the law, these two concepts are completely different sectors, or they are two completely different aspects, and completely we need to say that it is it's a different circle. It's positive law and morality, and also it's completely different in nature. We can say that what is, as we already mentioned in the relation of identity, what is moral is not what is law. These two are different in nature. In certain situation we are not following some morality. For example, we can say that in morality, we are saying that this same-sex marriage is a sin for moral concept. Those who are foreign, those who are following moral sides, they are saying that same-sex marriage is a sin for those who are getting married. But whereas we are considering the law concept, we can say that in law there is that there is such concept. There is no such concept like this sin and all. Same-sex marriages allow for law. So what we are trying to say is that in mutual exclusivity principle or this theory, they are saying that these two are not correlated or these two are not similar. If we want to follow moral rules or morality, we will follow like that, and if you want to follow this law concept, we can follow like that. So what is saying is that these two concepts, morality or law, as not correlative, and these two are separate sectors or separate fields, and they need not coexist. They can stand their own way. If someone want to follow morality principles, they will completely stick on it, and someone need to follow laws. So mostly we are following the law principles, right? So if moral values is saying that such and such thing is sin, or we need to follow that, we will need to face so many consequences on that. But if the law is saying that there is no such problem, we will not be punished, it's completely up to you, or it's your um, right, or we need to follow such way as that. So there is no problem at all in that situation. So the thing is, these two concepts are completely different things. Someone need to follow this moral concept, or someone want to follow this law concept. Anyway, it's completely two different sectors, and we need to it's completely up to you to follow that sectors. So sometimes the law says that that particular act is violative. Sometimes the moral says that no such activity is not a sin, or it cannot be punishable. So these are the two concepts in this mutual exclusivity. So these two are different circles. There is no interconnection, so they are not similar like that. So whereas in the third theory it says that limited share field. Here what we are looking into that, this law and morality should be considered to be, or we need to balance the concepts of morality and the law. We cannot simply say that they are two different sectors, or we cannot say that these two concepts are similar in nature. We need to give equal weightage to the morality concept and equal weightage to the law concept. In certain situations, we need to give more importance to the morality. Sometimes we need to give more importance to law. Instead of giving more importance to the both concepts, law and morality, we need to balance these two concepts and go for it. This was the theories mentioned in here. So in relation of identity, it was says that law and morality are identical or similar in nature, and mutual exclusivity principle or theory says that this law and morality are two different concepts, and it is two different field. It should be treated like that. Whereas in the limited share field theory says that these two subjects like morality and concepts are to be balanced. We need to balance whenever we act. So moving on to the next area, like, so we have a natural, yeah, we have two approaches here in order to find this law and morality: natural approach and positive approach. So we already mentioned about our theories, identity theory and exclusive theory. It is completely rely upon these two approaches, where in natural law they are saying that to be a law, it must be a moral thing, or it must be identical in nature. That is, we need to obey what is legitimate, and depending upon that legitimate concept only, we can identify whether it is a moral thing or an immoral thing. So, and also saying that we must conduct, or minimum content of morality must be there in our concept. Then only we can say that, or then only we can follow these concepts and all. So next thing in the positivist theory, they are saying that it must be an autonomous or an exclusive field, or we can say that it is law as an independent or an autonomous thing. Irrespective of all these things, or in order to validate all these things, we need some set of procedures. So whenever we are making any amendments, or we are introducing some law and all, we need to follow some set of principles and all. For a purpose, we need to present this particular law before an locus of parliament, and we need the assent or majority should accept that. After that, we need the assent from the president. After that, we only implement that. Like that, there are certain procedures are there. So in order to validate these procedures, in order to make this happen, we need to follow some procedures. So what we are saying in here is, uh, how or whether law need to follow some moral values or morality. So whenever we are making some laws, whether we need to follow some moral concepts and not. In order to identify that, or in order to see that aspects of problem, we need to consider three themes. First one, law and force. So in law and forces, we are looking into the concept, what is the role of force in it. So we all know that law is coercive in nature. So how this, or how we are using this coercive nature, and how we can justify this coercive nature, through only we can justify, or we can say that law and force is there. And moving on to the next thing, the law and justice. Here, what is here looking into is that, what is the actually the ultimate end of law, how whether how we can see the end of our justice. So how we can attain, or how we can achieve this justice or just in that procedure. And for example, for that we can say that again this procedures can be say that. So we have some certain set of procedures are there, and in that procedures, in order to get justice, we need to follow certain set of procedures, right? So we can say that in order to implement a law, we need to follow certain procedures, like we need the assent from the peoples of parliament and from the president and all. Likewise, in order to or in order to follow such procedure, or in order to get a justice, or in order to have a justice, we need to follow certain principles or procedures must be followed, then only we can say that we comes to the justice. So what they are actually saying is that the procedure must meet the justice, or what are procedures we are using for implementing a law, or what are procedures we are using for taking into considering any law.